I feel blessed, I feel honored, I feel excited, I am happy to be here. I want to honor the Bishop Sasa, and the Lady Bishop of the house. I acknowledge you as I stand on your pulpit. I want to greet everyone, the saints, and every speaker that has come before me. I acknowledge your contributions, and I am excited because I feel like everything is coherent. I'm even excited to be the last speaker because it's a build-up and a beautiful one you're going to see. I am sorry, I want to apologize for saying that they should just introduce me by my name. I noticed that as she was introducing everyone, she was actually mentioning their credentials and their qualifications. Sometimes that information is important because how do you know that I'm credible as I stand before you? You know? But I promise you I'm qualified, I'm not a fake one. Yeah. As a point of departure, can I just say this? Every single life is given with a purpose. Every single life. Before there's a life, there's a purpose first. God is not confused. So before he gives life, he will predestine a purpose. I'm saying this because it's in his word. Jeremiah 1 verse 5 says, before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you. Yeah? So there's a knowledge that God has about us before we are even born. Right? So before we are born, there's a knowledge that God has about us. And then the scripture continues to say, I then set you apart and I ordained you to be, in this case, he was speaking about Jeremiah. So he said to be a prophet, right? Meaning, before Jeremiah was born, his purpose was all figured out by God. So every single life, as it comes forth, its purpose is there. The purpose for that individual is already before them. I know we exist in a society and a time where sometimes you look at someone's life and it looks lost. And it looks like they are living a purposeless life. That was never God's plan. Something happened to disturb the purpose of that individual from coming forth. So I want to say that as a point of departure. As I'm going to bring forth my psychological knowledge and my psychological perspective of it. Welcome my husband. Please welcome my husband. Yeah, I'm a mother by the way to that almost 1 year boy. Yeah. So as a point of departure, remember that. So it's not excluded where your child is concerned. So that child that I'm going to speak about, you have been trusted by God. And your mandate involves you seeing through the purpose of that child. So what you are going to do as a parent, what you do as a parent, is far much important than any system that can be involved. Does that make sense? So one of the challenges that as a society today we are looking at is deviant behavior. And I know teachers will attest to this, the police will attest to this. It's deviant behavior, right? That tends to come forth as our children are growing. And often the confusion will be, is it the parents? Is it friends? Is it society? Where is this coming from? Yeah? And I remember the men of God even spoke about how to a large extent a parent will even start beating themselves up. But today I want to highlight, and I hope that as I stand before you today, you have an opportunity to introspect and to reflect on this individual that God has entrusted in your hands and how you are parenting them. So they mentioned that sometimes because of the wounds that we have as parents, I want to take it from there, that concept. So they mentioned that sometimes we parent from our wounds. And these are the wounds that tend to disturb how you are going to manage, to maintain, and see forth the purpose of God in your child's life. This child, they come with an authentic signature. It has nothing to do with you. They have an authentic signature. God has already done the work. It says in Ephesians chapter 2 that we are the workmanship. God has prepared the work before us. And our duty is to walk in the work that He has perfectly prepared. That includes the child that you're parenting. Right? So that child is born with the finished work of God in them. So we can't be reckless when we are parenting. That's why I say I want you today to receive my presence here as an opportunity to reflect and introspect. Now we're going to look at the parent. Actually, I'm thinking let's start with the child. Children, they develop in multiple stages. Yeah, I'm actually happy because when I was sitting there, I started realizing that we actually have all the demographics of the children today. So I even have points of examples to point to as I'm speaking, right? So as we are tuning in, because we are going to focus on the parent-child relationship, yeah? But I want to start firstly with the child, and then I'm going to come to the parent. Is that okay? And I hope this is knowledge that is helpful, and hopefully this is knowledge that will become useful for you as you live today. So there is only very few little things that children need when they are born. They need connection. It's the first thing that a child needs. So as soon as you birth them, immediately, they will do this even at the hospital. Mothers will attest to this. They will take the baby and they'll put the baby next to you here. That's to signify that the child's very first need is connection and contact. Later on, as they develop and as they grow, it will also develop with them in different stages and forms. But the very first need that a child comes having is the need to connect. So can we take note of that connection, right? And then as they are developing, you're going to notice one other thing that they need is attention. So there's that as well, there's attention. What enables a parent as their child is needing and you're attending to their needs and you're attending to each and every one of their needs. The mistake that I find we tend to do as parents. For example, that one over there, I saw the mom breastfeeding them. So that one over there, he looks like he hasn't reached 12 months. How many months is he? 10 months, eh? So that one from birth up until 12 months, they are in the stage that we call trust or mistrust. I'm speaking about the stages of development, right? I'm only going to cover 5 stages which end at the age of 18. And I'm highlighting this so that as a parent, you can develop some sense of awareness and curiosity, and you look at yourself if you've been paying attention to these things, okay? Remember, they need connection, they need attention. How do you attain this? As a parent, you have to be very curious. So, I think someone was highlighting this. that when we approach our children, we tend to approach them as they're all-knowing. No, we are not superior. God is. Your job is to partner with God in raising this individual. So you're not superior, you're not all-knowing. God is all-knowing. Your job is to be curious about, what is this child all about? What is this child coming with? What do they have within them that I can help them unlock? That's your job. So you're not all-knowing. So I find that parents tend to approach parenting with a sense of all-knowing. You're not all-knowing. You are not relevant to that extent. God is. Your job is to partner with God. So I'm speaking about the stage of trust and mistrust, right? That's when they just came into the world. You will see, even when you look into their eyes, they trust everything with you, about you, everything. They are fully dependent. You can see it in their eyes even when you're looking in them. They are vulnerable. So their trust is all in you, right? Stage number 1, age 0 to 12 months. Yeah? So what does trust look like, right? The child at that stage, that one over there who's breastfeeding, they know that if I cry, mom knows that I'm hungry or my diaper is full. Do you know what I'm saying? Crying is the only language that they have. Or I am not feeling so well. How does mom know that? How does mom know? Some mom, they even know that this cry is for food. This one is a full diaper. This one is sleep. Do you get my point? Because as a mom at that age, you are also very hypersensitive to the needs of your child. So your attention is very attuned as well. Yeah? Stage 1. So you know that when they cry, they want food. When they cry, this type of cry means sleep. This type of cry means hungry, right? However, this is where the challenge is. Parents then fail to consistently maintain that level of attention to their child. So as the child develops, their attention lessens. You see how you can quickly respond to that cry? When the diaper is full, you know it's the full diaper. They haven't said a word. When they're hungry, you know that, they're hungry. They haven't said a word. But the problem is, you miss that. What tends to disturb that? Ask yourself, right? You're still on the child. When a disturbance happens at that stage of development, another thing that is happening in the psychological, remember I'm here as a point of reference for psychological and emotional development. If something was to happen in the stage of trust and mistrust and disturb that process, the child will start interpreting. If he wants to nyanya, and mom doesn't give him the breast, that creates confusion. It disturbs the process of trust, right? And the child will start thinking the world is unpredictable. The world cannot be trusted. Yeah? And sometimes when I cry, mom comes. When I cry, she doesn't come. Sometimes, you see that one of mine, he is turning a year next week, right? So he is aware that mom leaves home in the morning, and then around a certain time of the day, I can predict that mom will be back. So when I arrive, you will even start seeing a change of mood in him. Because he's at the stage where everything is around trusting or not trusting. Can mom be predictable? Yeah? That's as far as the development of the child is concerned. Then we move to stage 2. This stage includes your child being around the ages of 1 to 3, right? So some of you are probably parenting that age group right now as I'm speaking. This is the stage that we call autonomy or versus shame, and I will explain what I mean by that. So this is the stage where your child's emotional and psychological development is guided at achieving autonomy or shame or doubt. Yeah? So autonomy means this little one who's 1 year or 3 years, I've seen that one, she's probably, how old? 2 years? 1 year, 10 to be exactly. I saw that. Because I noticed that when they give her, she's very firm. She can say her no very firmly. Yeah? That's because she's in her autonomy stage. Yeah? That's the stage where they start saying, me do it. Me, mommy do it. Me wash myself, me do it. Me choose my clothes, even if the clothes don't make sense. Me do it. Okay? This means psychologically and emotionally, they are ready to achieve autonomy. Autonomy means their ability to do things for themselves. Okay? So your attention as a parent should be looking out for how they are achieving this. Yeah? You should be looking out for, are they coming forth in their ability to want to do things for themselves? Are they attempting to do things for themselves? Yeah? And if you disturb that process, they will develop doubt in their ability to do things. So disturbance in the process of autonomy and doubt means the child will successfully or unsuccessfully be able to believe in their ability to do things. Some parents, they get frustrated. Come on, come on, explore in the house. Well, of course, we must check for the safety of the child, but sometimes that exploration and that curiosity is them attempting to believe in what they can do or cannot do. Let them struggle with tying up their shoes. Your frustration about that has nothing to do with the child. You might want to just be patient, okay? So while they are tying up their shoes, let them struggle. Let them figure it out. Let them wear their shoes banana way and let them be. Yeah? At that stage, I'm speaking about 1 to 3. They will figure it out. And when they figure it out, you're going to see it. You will see it. They will celebrate it themselves. And you have no idea what that adult child is going to be like. A child who can figure things out and believe that they can figure things out. You have no idea what type of an adult that child is going to be. Just your job, just be curious as a parent, okay? Now we're moving to stage number 3. This involves your 3 to 6 years old, okay? Probably this ones they are starting crèche school, somewhere there, yeah? So they are starting to also have to find themselves in the company of other little people like them, okay? They are now kind of very, like I said, because if that stage of trust and mistrust is well developed, moreover when I mean about separation anxiety, yeah? Because everything leads into the other. If you fail to be a good enough parent when they are between 0 to 1, where they can trust and have security, you're going to see when they start going to have some separation with mom and dad, they start becoming quite anxious. Like they can't let go, right? That's because the stage of their trust and mistrust in the world was a bit shaken and disturbed as it was developing, right? So here you at the age of 3 to 6 years old, and this stage we call it initiative versus guilt. What this means is they will start having to attend their sense of ambition and responsibility. So generally amongst their little people friends, they will start wanting to show that they can do it as well. You know, they start being quite initiative. They start being quite competitive. You know, they start initiating certain things. You know, and if this stage can develop quite successfully, it gives them a sense of confidence and a sense of purpose in who they are. Yeah. So this is the age 3 to 6. I'm going to move quickly to age 6 to 12, and this is the stage where we call industry versus inferiority. This is your 6 to 12 years old. Yeah. Just there by the door of you know, their adolescent stage as well. So what tends to happen here, there will be a sense of industrial inferiority. Where there is a disturbance in this development, the negative side of it, you're going to start seeing inferiority complex in your child. Yeah? There's going to be a lot of comparison to their peers. Yeah? There's a lot of comparison that is going on at this stage to their peers. And if they are overwhelmed and this stage is disturbed in terms of their development, then they will start having what we call inferiority complex, where they're very shy to show up, where they're very doubtful of who they can be amongst their peers. Does that make sense? Yeah. And often this is the adolescent stage. And then the last one, as I said, I'm only going to deal with five stages because we're looking at up until the ages of 18. The stages altogether, they cover human life up until 60 years. So this is, if you're very curious to learn, of course I can provide you the information. But today because we're mainly gunning on parenting, so I only decided let me cap it by 18 years. So this is the identity versus role confusion stage. So it will start there by 12 to 18. This is where you start seeing them really in deep questioning of who they are, and really trying out multiple identities, and really trying out to figure out who they are. What are they here for? Who are their true selves? And so they tend to also kind of have set goals for themselves. They tend to have a more problem-solving, stage of psychological development as well. So this is what a normal child development status would look like, okay? Can I come to the parent now? Yeah. Now that you are noticing, or maybe you have also just looked at where your child is at in terms of their development, I want you now to come and look at the type of parent that you are. And as I said, this is for point and reference of introspection and reflection. Nothing for judgment, yeah? Because if we judge ourselves, we block ourselves from empowerment and growing. So without judgment, you want to really introspect yourself, reflect on what you have been doing, what you can do better, and where you can be helped to do better. Remember when I said that children, in order for them to blossom into the people who they are meant to be, not who you want to be, yeah? They come with their innate needs, right? So they do not become who you need them to be or who you want them to be. They become who they were meant to be, right? So in order for them to blossom and develop in that direction, remember when I said there has to be intentional connection with your children. They were actually given practical ideas of how do you connect with your children as a parent, yeah? Sometimes that requires intentionally setting out time, as they were saying, okay? It really means setting out time. In your busy schedule, you need to find time which you suddenly can be aware that this is the time for connecting with my children. And then how do you connect? You connect from a point of curiosity. Yeah? You connect from a point of curiosity. Right. So can we just come to parenting? With parenting, there's a reason why you're probably doing the things that you are currently doing as a parent, and I don't blame you. You're probably doing what you already know, and that's okay. I think what's helpful is for you to ask yourself if what you are doing is what your child needs. And by child, I mean individual child, not your children, yeah? Because each and every one of them has got an individual, authentic signature. So what you do with child A might really not work for child B. Yeah, and what you do with child B might not work for child C. So that's why as a parent you have to consistently be curious, because every single child comes with what you do not know, right? So in guiding them, you will guide them through what you know, but there's a lot of room for what you don't know. And that not knowing is what is known by God. Yeah? So now I want to highlight these different types of parenting. And I want to show you how being a certain type, how practicing a certain type of parenting can create that type of disturbance where the child is developing in those stages that I've highlighted. Does that make sense? Yeah. So there are research shows multiple types of styles of parenting. They differ. Some researchers, they say there's 4 of them. Some researchers say there's 5 of them types of parenting. I want to highlight 3 of them because those are the ones that I meet every day in my daily work. As they've indicated, that I'm a psychologist. So every time when I work with young kids and adolescents, I get to sit with the parents first. And I get to see what type of parenting this child is employing in their journey with their child. And I'm often able to pick up, some of the mishaps that they are already having in parenting their child. Yeah, Rudy Bishop highlighted earlier and said we are attacked as a society with suicidality. Yeah, it's a real thing. Adolescents are different. Adolescents today are very different. This is a totally different era. So we ourselves will want to also develop, we want to also come up in either, we want to also acquire knowledge and equip ourselves because this is a totally different generation. And without knowledge, my people perishes. Yeah? So when you are a parent, you will either be what we call an authoritative parent. I'll explain what that means. Or you'll be what we call an authoritarian parent. Now I'll explain what that means. Or you will be what we call a permissive or neglectful parent. So I'm bringing up these particular ones because these are the ones that I've seen as a source of problematic results of behavior in children. Okay? The authoritative is the ideal type of parenting. So this is the guide. The bishop was speaking about how your role is to guide. Yeah? So this is the guide type of parenting. The lead. Yeah? How do you lead? Children do what we do, not what we say. Okay? So children don't, you can say, like they were saying, you can say do this, or don't do that. Children don't do what we say. They do what they see us do. Children work with modeling. Yeah? And that helps a lot in their development, particularly psychologically and emotionally. How you are as a parent, how you present emotionally, that's the example that your children have. How you respond and react, that's the example that your children have. How you communicate, that's the example they have. That's the template they will use. Okay? How you relate with other people, that's exactly the example they have, and they will use that. How you present yourself in the world. Are you a confident parent? Are you not confident? Are you stuck in your wounds as a parent? Because now this means you have a responsibility to make sure that you heal from your psychological and emotional wounds before you engage the process of effective parenting. If you don't do that, you will parent from a place of your wounds, as they said. You will engage what we call unconscious parenting. Yeah? We all start there. We all start with unconscious parenting. But at some point, you want to question the way that you parent. You want to be curious about the way that you parent. And that's what we call conscious parenting. You want to be aware of yourself. You want to know how to separate yourself. Your child is not an extension of you. Your child is a person of their own self. Yeah? And so you don't want to parent them as though they are an extension of you. Does that make sense? Yeah. So when we have an authoritative type of parenting, I will describe what type of a parenting versus the type of child that will present. I will also describe what the power dynamics in that parental relationship looks like.